Hello again. Yes, hello. I'm Viper. I'm back doing a back-to-back run here. So we just had Sonic Drift. Now we're going to have Outrun 2006. Now I know what people are going to say. It's Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast. This is an absolute win, possibly. This is going to be a bit different than what you guys are normally used to with Outrun. So as you may remember, I did Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast last year. I did the 15-stage Outrun 2 map, which was like 15 minutes long, and it showed off every environment possible, rather than going through goal to goal to goal. But obviously, as we know with Outrun, it's like the end of the day, it's you get from point A to point B, and you get to pick which side you go. Now, alongside the regular arcade-ish part of the game, there's something called the Flagman races, or coast to coast mode, in 2006. So there are 4 sections here with Flagman 1, 2, 3, and 4, plus races against Clarissa, Jennifer, and Holly. Now we're going to be doing all of the Flagman 1 races. So there's 5 sections here. So we've got 3 there, 2 there, 1 there, 2 more there, and 1 there. So a lot of these are just racing from point A to point B. We have one that involves testing our drift, and as well, we'll get to use a different car. So, for example, we get to use the Outrun class. So that is the really sporty cars, which I honestly absolutely love. Now I'm going to change the color a little bit here. We'll go with typical Ferrari red. I think we've got any others. Yeah, I think we should be all right. Yeah, so we're going to use the 328 GTS for this. And time is going to begin when I select the first song. So we've got the original BPM, so I'm going to try and have one of these. I don't know which one's going to play, so we'll see. And if we're ready, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so everyone that remembers Outrun 2006 remember exactly how this game works. Straightforward enough. Now, you can kind of probably see it here, but I have my own steering wheel here, so I'm going to play this like you would in the arcades. Now, there's 2 reasons for that. We're going to have a bit of music on as well. So there's a reason why, the main thing above everything else, why we're going to have the music on everything. Obviously, it's the authentic Outrun 2006 experience. The other thing is as well, is that you may be wondering, what is Outrun mode, what is the 2006, the Coast to Coast mode? So the Coast to Coast mode allows us to do different environments. So this mainly specializes in Outrun 2 and Outrun 2 SP. So some of the environments may look familiar. In this one, for example, though, we do have 2 or 3 different environments. We have this slipstream ability, which, for those that don't know, in 2006, you are able to do slipstreaming and drafting. That's something you weren't able to do in Outrun 2. The game itself is interesting because it has the Outrun class, so we could do all this with the normal cars, but the Outrun class is a lot faster. It's also something else as well, so you can pick whichever car you like to use. I'm using the 328 GTS, because it's the one that I'm quite familiar with. That doesn't mean I can drive it as well as some people. So, for example, there may be times where things go wrong. But if I make it look easy, apologies if I do. The main thing we're going to try to do is get a triple A as much as we can. Now, because there is 3 races here, it means that I'm going to be going from one to another. When we're on the last race of the set, I'll have to come out and go into the next batch. So like I said, we've got a 3-race set here, which is just point A to point B. Then we have a set of 2 races, again, still point A to point B. And then we have a drift one, which is different. There is other stuff as well. So Flagman 1 is the novice, it's the easiest one. So it does try to mix the tracks up a little bit. And like I said, for me personally, I've played this on a keyboard, I played this on a controller, and it works fine on a keyboard and on a controller, but for me, the most fun I had with the game was a couple of years ago. About 2 years ago, I did an Outrun 2 tournament at an event, and people really seemed to enjoy their time with it as well. Spoiler, I ended up winning that. but I excluded myself from it. Even though I won, I thought it wasn't fair on the other guys, so I disqualified myself even though I won the competition. Mainly because of the fact that it was like, I didn't feel right that I'd won my own competition. There was no advantage to be gained by doing this, by losing it or by winning anything, so yeah, all good fun. But yeah, during that event, I ended up playing a fair bit of Outrun 2, and I played it on a steering wheel with pedals, so as a result, I really got used to how the game works and everything. And honestly, genuinely speaking, it is a very fun game. I don't think anyone here could probably discount that, or discount any of it. I think that that's one of the biggest benefits of Outrun. Its music, its style. It is the one game that, bear in mind, the Outrun series is now well over 30 years old, if not older than that. Given the original game came out in 1980. 3? 4 maybe? I'm probably a few years out. Apologies if my knowledge isn't that good. But in terms of the Outrun games, yeah, they've always been a staple classic for the racing genre, driving genre. For me personally, with Outrun, I don't take it too seriously. It is very much a game that you play, and it is one of them that it can feel a bit difficult to master, but this was one of them games that's had a massive impact on everybody, I think. No matter how old you are, this game has had an impact. You have probably seen the arcade machines at your local amusement park or a theme park or arcade club or whatever. And you've obviously gone on it and gone, this was kind of enjoyable. A lot of people don't like it because of the fact that they're not a fan of driving games. That's completely fine. But I think for some people as well, it's like, I don't like racing games, but Outrun is the one game that I can really gel with. And that's nice. I think that's one of the main things as well. So 39 years, nearly 4 decades. God damn. That is a lot. That is old. But yeah, like in general, I think that, to be honest, at the end of the day, with the game itself, like I said, I don't think the game's aged too badly. I think that, granted, if you compare Outrun 2006 to some of the other games, I think that this might be a bit of a tall order or a tall ask, but I do believe that this game could go on sale today and people would still buy it. Because it's a game that, whilst it's not seen as full-on simulation, it's an arcade game. It's a classic. I would say the game doesn't age, but it does. Every game ages eventually, and I think this game will, age eventually. I do genuinely believe that. But for me personally, it's such a great game to just be part of. The atmosphere, the soundtrack, I could go on about it. And also, that is the first block of missions done, so we're going to come out of that and go into our next block. But I'm curious to just hear what other people's comments are, so yeah, this should be nice and interesting. So I'm going to go back into that and get right back into things. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how we get on. Like I said, for this, the most part, the races are straightforward. There are a few other racing modes in this, so we have your typical point A to point B. There are drifting modes, so you can see here we're now in Outrun 2's map because of the start. And also, as well, just to kind of mention, so you can see at the you can see now that we go over to the right hand side, and I do it the same in the other map. So yeah, it's very, very nice. Like I said, it's a very enjoyable experience. It's fast and frantic. For me personally, Outrun 2 is probably the best racing game I played in quite a number of years. But the thing is as well is that I think with what 2006 did, per se, personally speaking, is it did something very, very well. Which is, well, it added something slightly new. Granted, 2006 is just Outrun 2 with a few extra features. If we're really going to be picky, if we're really going to narrow it down, let's just narrow it down. 2006 is Outrun 2 with a few extra features. Does it make it worse of a game because of that? No, it makes it better. Because of that, they didn't just add in the slipstream feature, they added in extra cars, still got the Ferrari license in there, all good fun. It doesn't take anything away from that. I think that that's one of the things that 2006 did rather well. Not only that, but in Outrun 2 especially, there is nothing in Outrun 2 outside of the main game. You play the game over and over, you can do a time attack, and that's it. There isn't much else to it. It is literally about as obvious as that. That's it. Whereas in this, you've got, like I said, granted these are like mini missions, but they are mini races. And that's not a bad thing. Like I said, personally speaking, they are short to the point. I think that they allow people to build up their experience. Now, apart from, as I was saying before, apart from the obvious races, there are drift challenges, there are times where you have knockout races as well, later down the line. You also have races where you face like off against the three girls, I think it is. There's a heart attack mode in this game. I can't remember if that was in the Outrun 2 game originally. I think it might have been actually. But Outrun 2006, whether it was in Outrun 2 or not, has heart attack mode, and that's essentially where you've got to impress your girlfriend with your driving skill and be as fast as possible. Now, it is also worth mentioning, obviously, I'm going to win all of this because of the fact of I'm using one of the fastest cars. It's not the fastest. I will kind of mention that there is a variety of cars in here. So there's the Ferrari F50, there's the Ferrari Enzo, 328 GTS, the 288 GTO, which is my personal favourite, the Testarossa, which is famous for anyone that's watched Miami Vice in the 1980s, the 365-4, the GTB Daytona, I think it is. There's the 512BB, and there's a fair few others. I can't name them all. The Berlinetta, I think F40, what's it called? I think the F430's in here. There's the what is it? I can't remember the name of it. There's one of them. One of the Ferraris is a Berlinetta. Play different cars, but like I said, if you imagine that in terms of how the game works with its car roster, I think if you were to make a car game, or if there was ever a car game to release around one manufacturer and did a good job, Outrun was it. And granted, Outrun's premises was simple. Yeah, Outrun's premises was simple. To give you a short experience, but a fun experience. There was other car manufacturers that did actually try to do racing video games. Some did alright, like Ford, for example. They had the Ford Racing series. Others flopped hard. Some were really bad. For example, there was the Chevrolet Camaro racing game for the Wii. There was a Lamborghini game which was never released properly, but was supposed to release for the original Xbox, but presumably to counter Ferrari for the Outrun games. What else? Yeah, there was a few others as well that were like kind of limited in what they tried to do. But again, not many were that good. I think Lotus Challenge was another. There was obviously, if you go back as far as like the late 80s, early 90s, around the same time, there was games like Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, but I mean, granted, this game was 2006, but I think had they made Lotus Esprit remade, quote-unquote remade, like Outrun got its sequel in, what was it, like 2001, 2002 when it got its sequel? Quote-unquote sequel. Yeah, you know, given the transformation, it was unbelievable. Absolutely remarkable. Also, and I crossed the line, nice and easy. Also, in terms of the car's audio, I will just say it's low because of the fact it's in-game. I've not lowered that myself. The game's just low in general for game audio. Also, this is the only time you'll actually ever see me I'm going to select like one of them in particular. There is only one race in this entire lot that is actually different, that isn't just racing. So this is about drifting. So in this race, you face off one-on-one versus, I think it's Jennifer? I think she's called. So immediately it's like, okay, right, so I've got to get ahead of her. So you can see here that she's already drifting. I've got to make sure that I outdo her the whole way. So this will be a lot of drifting. There's not really too much to say on this one other than you've got to make sure that you stay ahead of her. Well, not just stay ahead of her, it's not a case of whether you're ahead of her or not. Obviously you want to make sure that you've got the highest score when you get to the end. So if I hit any cars, which I don't think will happen, but if I accidentally hit any cars, then yeah, there's that. Also, I will be doing... Oh, there you go. There is some cars, never mind. So she catches up pretty quick. When I was derusting this the other day, I realised that, oh hey, I'm supposed to do something here. Didn't know what exactly I had to do. So that was fun. When I got to the finish, only to realise, wait, I'm supposed to be drifting. Oops. So yeah, we should be able to get this one nice and easy. And this is actually the one time which will slow me down. I won't be able to do anything else. There's not a lot I can do. I think you do lose score based on if you go off the track or not. Now, if I'm fast enough, I might be able to get to the finish. Possibly. I'll just do a bit more drifting just to be on the safe side here. There we go. 75k. So as soon as I cross the line, which she doesn't like, but as soon as I cross the line, that's it. All I have to do then is just go, right, that sort of thing. We're done in that way. So yeah, here we go. So immediately we're on to the fourth set. So we've now got another 2 races to do, followed by one last race, and then I think that's it. We're all done and dusted. So like I said, it's a very short run. There's not too much to it. So yeah, we'll find out. We get to the end of this. So this one's actually more interesting because we actually have, even though it's 2 goals, but 2 parts, 2 sections, that we do need to beat all 11 other drivers and come in first. So obviously, for the most part, it will be a case of seeing what we can do. Now, on the straights, this car should just blitz past them, to be honest. There we go. There we go. I always thought, like, with Outrun 2, so this is the Outrun 2 SP map, which I think is, like, the special mode map, something like that. But, like, with Outrun 2 especially, I always thought the SP was just, like, a flipped version of Outrun 2. So it was just everything, but either in reverse or backwards. Turns out it's not. It's obviously an entirely different map. So, yeah, for those that didn't know, you can... If you so desire, you can get 2 different maps based on which games you want. Also, I find it surprising that the Ferrari carries this much speed uphill. Realistically, that shouldn't happen. If it's like going downhill, I think I should be exceeding it. But again, they're not going for realism here, so yeah, should be nice and easy. Nice easy one all the way down here. Like I said, for the most part, there's not a lot I can tell you other than picking the fastest car is usually the best bet. And like I said, I could pick, if I so desired, I could pick the fastest car for the job. And that is probably a good idea. I would rather be able to actually keep the car on track, because if I hit walls, granted I've hit a few already, but if I hit walls a bit more, I lose a lot of speed and I don't really want to do that. So yeah, we'll see how things go.
Get ready.
Anyway, so we've got our second to last race. So again, you start in a different areas, which I think is also another good thing too. So immediately we're into a hairpin here. So obviously I need to make sure we can get ahead of these guys. So hopefully everyone's been enjoying the music a little bit. Whoops. Accidentally knock him around a bit. Didn't mean to do that. That was kind of lucky that that happened, but anyhow. So believe it or not, I have a bit less practice on the SP map than I do on the regular map. So if I seem to struggle a little bit more in these, then you now know why. Also, I will be honest, one of the most satisfying things about Outrun, when you drift around the outside of a competitor, holy hell is it satisfying. Very much satisfying. You get like, oh, you gotta beat an AI, yeah, but I'm gonna drift around the outside of them. It's like, you can't do that. It's like, watch me. I most certainly will. So there is also the case of some of these corners are brutal. I will be putting my brakes on when I need to, because I think if I didn't, then I'd be a massive idiot for not doing so. There we go. So up the hill we go, nice and easy. And immediately into another right-hander. But yeah, like I said, I think there's no other car game that uses one license and has had a big of an impact and done such a great job as Sega has done with this. To be honest, it is just absolutely awesome. I can't even deny that. Like, it is just awesome. So, with that one done and dusted, that now moves us on to at the last section. We have one more race. So let's get into it. And there it is. Again, we go into final race. So time will be when I cross the line at the end of this one. This race will be a little bit longer than the rest, given there's more checkpoints involved. So let's see how we get on. There we go. So I think at this point this is like a full route. So this is more like a 4-minute run. This is more, I'd say this race is more like the one you would do in the arcades. Now, I do believe this doesn't follow any particular set path. I could be wrong about that, of course, but yeah. Like I said, very fun and enjoyable experience, at least from my perspective. I quite enjoyed this game a fair bit. I'm not a master at it by far. I am not a master at this game. I'm not the most 10 out of 10 player ever. Like I said, I've found a fair bit of an enjoyment in this game since picking it up after playing it at an event about 2 years ago, and just in general, like I said, the series is great. I'm more of the modern player than I am of the old school player, so yeah. But regardless, so I'm gonna go across Bay Bridge. It's weird as well because to me, I don't think the map was based off anything in particular, but obviously you could say that the map was based off San Francisco a lot, given this massive hill, for example, but also the Bay Bridge. I think that's kind of obvious. They probably would say, like, you know, Sega probably turn around and say, oh well, you know, we've not based it off anything in particular. It's like, as much as you want to deny you've not based off anything in particular, like, come on, really? You're telling me this isn't supposed to be San Francisco? Or like any certain parts it's not supposed to be? Like, there are certain environments as well, mainly in Outrun 2, which takes bits of like Egypt and France and Paris, you know, well, bits of France. Sorry, you know, like bits of like Egypt, Paris, Rome. That's what I meant to say, not France/Paris. Although I would not be surprised if it was more of a case of just talk bits and pieces. It is, yeah, it's a great game though. Mexico as well, yeah, very true. Like I said, it does a very good job at, even though it doesn't say it's like, oh, it's Mexico, or oh, it's France, or oh, it's Italy, you know, wherever. You can tell in certain places where it's based off. I mean, there is one part where it goes through like a spooky forest, and I think that might be an ode to, quite possibly, an ode to the House of the Dead games at that point, because the fact of Haunted Mansion, that's, granted you had like, you know, it was probably counter rivals to other games, but yeah, I would say Oops. I would say more than anything else. It's probably supposed to imitate like the House of the Dead. If this was Nintendo, it would imitate like Luigi's Mansion or something like that. But given that Sega didn't make Luigi's Mansion, it had to come up with something interesting. So yeah, it did. I came up with this own unique idea. So this fog is very, very low, surprisingly. There is also this matter of corners. The last section, I will be completely truthful, is very technical. In my personal opinion, it's the hardest part of the run. It's the last few corners. The thing is with Outrun is it's more a case of being consistent with your driving above everything else. So yeah, we'll see how we get on. So we're now in the final zone, so time will be coming up once I get across the line. But again, I'm going to have to really fight for it because I've had to really downshift the car though. There we go. There we go. This might be where it gets a bit tough. Here we go. And time. There we go. And there we go. That's it. That's the run done and dusted. Yeah, like I said, that is it for Outrun 2006. That's all I can show off for this run, but like I said, there are several different other runs you can do. If you so desired, you could actually go through and do all 4 of them in one go, or do them individually. I just will kind of mention as well, real quick, this isn't a category for the game. There is no category for all Flagman 1 races, so right now it's just kind of me, myself, and I, unless, you know, anything comes of it. But I just want to kind of quickly say, regardless of that situation, what I mentioned, a big thank you to SEGATHON for allowing me to show off not 1 but 2 games. I'll have to come up with something different for the next one, that's for damn sure. I'll see what I can come up with. But mega thanks to the guys over at SEGATHON for allowing me in for, I think this is like the 3rd or the 4th time last few years now. Like I said, to run 2 games, very different. Obviously I ran Outrun last year, but to do something slightly bit different, which was quite nice. But yeah, if you want to find me, by the way, I'm over at ViperRaces over on Twitch. You can find me on Blue Sky, Discord, and YouTube, and all them good places. Yeah, that's kind of about it. I'm going to stop yapping and let you guys carry on and watch the rest of the marathon. But many thanks once again to SEGATHON for having me. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. So